Thank you for your patience. Now, before I introduce Juli, if you want to stay engaged with what we're doing, please follow us on IG. It's at Wahiawā Food Innovation, or sign up on our mailing list on our website. It's the first thing you see, and then everything we send is very fun, so no spamming. With that, I'd like to introduce Juli. We actually met Juli through coffee first. She's a coffee professional and coffee enthusiast, and actually a coffee farmer, and a weekend barista. But she also now works as a research associate at the Hawaiʻi Agriculture Research Center. So down at the Mililani Ag Park, she's growing all kinds of specialty produce and seeing what works for our climate and our soil. So some conversations Juli and I have had in connecting dots between our users and our alumni companies are such as Johnny Kimbros, who just graduated our ʻāina to Makeke cohorts. He uses buckwheat to make his signature miso soba cookies, and buckwheat is not grown for culinary purposes here yet, but Juli is going to test that out, and that would be one of the first baking flours that we can produce, other than things like ulu flour, which really doesn't function like flour. And then Chef Miriam, who has a awesome Mexican restaurant. We got tons of jalapeno harvested from Hark, and she also grows things that we can't really find here, like jicama. So that's really exciting as a partnership. So with that, I will pass the mic to you and introduce what you're showcasing today in coffee sensory science. And how many of you are familiar with sensory as a term in food? Awesome. Okay, so hopefully you'll learn a lot today and have a little activity. So as opposed to usually if you've attended our workshops, we pull out prep tables and have everyone get your hands dirty, get hands-on. But today will be a different kind of activity where you'll use your taste buds to get hands-on. So I'll pass the mic to you. Thank you, Juli.
All right, aloha everyone. I wanted to say thank you so much for coming out this Friday night. There's plenty of things you guys could be doing on a Friday evening, and I very much appreciate all of your faces here today. I'm starting this presentation out with this quote: "Coffee is an expression of time, the interaction of soil, seed, sun, with human intervention, and the chaos of the universe." I love this quote because it really embodies coffee. From the moment it's fertilized to the time you're finished drinking it, it is in a constant state of change. And I think that's a really beautiful thing about coffee, and a really unique thing about this particular product. So just an introduction to what we'll be doing here in this workshop. Over this session, we're going to try to explore how sensory evaluation deepens our connection to coffee and the people who grow it. We'll practice building a flavor library through tasting familiar foods, and we'll cover the basics of specialty coffee from plant to cup. We'll also put these ideas into practice with a guided coffee tasting at the end and a quick brewing session. So I'm excited for you guys to try coffee at 6 p.m. and I hope you are too. Okay, so who am I? Haley did a wonderful introduction, so this is a little redundant, but I'm just gonna put it out here too. And why am I leading this workshop? I'm a research associate at the Hawaiʻi Agriculture Research Center. I've been there full time, working first as a tech, grueling and sweating in the cacao orchards and the coffee orchards, and then because of my time there, from the very, very bottom of the food chain to now a full-fledged project leader research scientist, I've had a little bit of working experience with agrivoltaic systems, plant breeding, plant propagation, and pretty heavily into coffee processing, more so in my coffee farm. But it's been a long time just working out in the Hawaiian sun, so it's been beautiful. I've also spent 20 years in the specialty coffee industry. I'm a CQI certified Q grader and Q processor, which, to break it down, there's an institution called the Coffee Quality Institute, and they basically have programs which you take. For example, the Q grader, you're taking over 25 tests that are sensory tests to make sure that you're calibrated with the industry standards. And for the Q processor, you go through a similar series of tests with coffee equipment and logistics. And so it's basically these little certifications that you can get that you're like, I think I know what I'm doing. So I'm officially a CQI lecturer, which means I could host formal lectures for coffee if there's an appetite for it locally. I've sat on panels for Cup of Excellence as a juror, so grading coffees internationally for Taiwan and for Indonesia. And then I've also been a judge in qualifiers events and national events for barista competitions. So I've had a lot of background in coffee. But before we go, I want to know who you are. So I've got a couple questions to get to know you guys a little better. My first question is, how many of you guys drink coffee every day? All right, almost everybody here, I love it. Who here works in the coffee industry or has worked in the coffee industry? All right, a little bit, so love to see that. How many of you prefer your coffee black? Wow, almost everybody. Who enjoys a little bit of milk and or sugar or both? Amazing, no shame, no shame. It's delicious. I am both black coffee and milk and sugar, so. Okay, who has grown, or works directly with coffee farmers? Love it, know this guy. And then I saw someone over here works with a coffee. Okay, and then finally, has anybody here visited a coffee farm or worked directly with coffee producers locally? Okay, cool. A fair amount of people. If you haven't visited a local coffee farm, please let me know and I'll recommend a few for you guys to go visit, because it's a really magical experience to be able to taste and see coffee, an exceptional coffee, right on a farm that's grown in our very own state. All right, why sensory matters to me. For me, sensory work is more than just tasting. It's about honoring the people and places behind each flavor. Every aroma, every texture reflects the care and labor of farmers, or the lack thereof. By developing our ability to notice and articulate these qualities, we give visibility back to producers and reconnect consumers with the origins of their cup. It can also step in decolonizing, or it can be an important step in decolonizing and deindustrializing our food systems, which is very important because we want to put the power of producers back into their hands. And this also returns the value to the land in the hands that cultivate it. That's my TED Talk, thank you. So the picture on the top here is actually a trip I took to Ecuador back in 2017. It was a region called La Papaya. It's actually a pretty famous coffee growing region for one farm, but that region actually has over 50 different small shareholder farmers. And so I went with a friend, and even though this one farm is very famous, all the other farmers had never tasted their coffee before and had never had it professionally evaluated. So I had the amazing opportunity to go to this farm with my friend and give those farmers direct feedback on how their coffee tasted. Of all the farmers there, not a single coffee scored below 83 points, which is very specialty coffee. So very cool experience. The other side of why sensory is important to me is, of course, my coffee farm. I work with my partner Rick and this guy, Ben, at the farm. We're owning and operating a small-scale coffee farm that helps me practice and innovate processing experience, but also helps keep me grounded in farming. All right, any questions so far? Okay, cool. All right, so coffee, what is it? Coffee belongs to the genus Coffea. It's in the Rubiaceae family, which is the gardenia family. If you haven't seen a coffee tree in real life, it is from a tree, it's a fruit. The flowers are very fragrant. They're very reminiscent of both gardenia and jasmine. And actually, it's when Kona's in full bloom, they call it a Kona snow because it looks like there's snow covering all the trees. It's really beautiful. There are two primary species cultivated commercially. One's Arabica and one's Robusta. Arabica is around 60 to 70% of global production, whereas Robusta is 30 to 40%. Arabica originated in Ethiopia, tends to thrive at higher elevations and cooler climates. Robusta is native to Central and Western Africa, grows in hotter, lower altitude regions, and has, fun fact, higher caffeine content. There are also two other species, Liberica and Excelsia, which have been commercially grown in some places, but their regional importance is in the Philippines, Malaysia, and West Africa. All right. And then this is a nice little poster on the historical distribution of coffee, of Café Arabica. You can kind of see how it originated through Africa, slowly made its way throughout the world throughout time. But one thing I would specifically like to point out is this quick line over from Brazil to Hawaii. If you notice the year, it's exactly 200 years old to this year. It's our anniversary. All right, what is specialty coffee? I talk a lot about it so far, but I actually haven't defined it. Specialty coffee is defined by quality, traceability, and sustainability, but it also is the sensory experience that it delivers in the cup. Sensory evaluation allows us to assess the coffee systematically throughout the whole world the same way. We look at flavor, body, aroma, balance, so we can distinguish exceptional coffees from commodity. And so the definition is it scores 80 points based on a form that's actually in your packet. That's not the true form. This is actually a broken down one that we'll be using because it's not quite as complicated. The forms that the SCA or the CQI uses are quite hefty, but if you are so curious, please do look them up. It's the Coffee Quality Institute cupping form. You can give it a quick Google and see it, but all of the basics are here on this form, which was supplied to me by Olympia Coffee Roasters, which is what they use in-house, and I actually really like it for like quick coffee evaluations. And so what we do in this evaluation when we give it this point is we're able to quantify how special it is based on its cup attributes. So what are quality markers? It's sweetness, it's clarity, balance, distinctive flavor notes that reflect origin and processing. Yeah, I kind of mentioned the sensory evaluation and standardized cupping protocols. So literally anywhere in the world, you follow these same protocols from tiny village in Ethiopia to Brazil to here in Hawaii. So, yeah. And the purpose is creates the shared language for the entire value chain. All right. When we taste coffee, we're not just experiencing single attributes. We're experiencing how flavors interact. Bitterness can add depth and balance. Too much can overwhelm the sweetness of acidity. Sweetness is essential for cohesiveness of the whole cup. It softens the acidity and bitterness and creates harmony. So sweetness is one of these really important factors in specialty coffee. The acid brings brightness and structure, but without enough sweetness, it can feel sour or sharp. So really, what binds everything together is balance. Body is what ties it as well. So creating a cohesive, layered experience in the cup. Yeah. And so this is the Specialty Coffee Association flavor wheel, which you have in front of you. This is a great wheel and a great tool for describing flavor in coffee. A lot of these flavors show up pretty consistently in coffee, and it covers a lot of how the organic acids in coffee interact with one another and physical attributes within the coffee that's created through genetics and farming practices. Yeah, the wheel also connects sensory training to a common language that farmers, roasters, and consumers can share. So, cool tool for you guys to reference and take with you. Yeah. Okay, and so this is coffee acids and their flavor contributions. So this is a quick breakdown of the organic acids involved in the cup and what we sense in the cup when we taste it. Citric acid is one of the most common ones. It really brings the bright, crisp, lemony, kind of grapefruit citrus notes to cups of coffee. Malic acid, which is more like a apple, like tartness, sweetness to it. And phosphoric acid, which can be sparkling, but usually also adds quite a bit of body to the coffee. Acetic acid, which can be bad. Acetic acid in too much concentration can be very sour in the cup, but the right concentration can be very winey or grape-like, and we love that in coffee, actually. That's a really fun flavor to catch. And then chlorogenic acid, which is just inherently in the green beans and does create a lot of bitter flavor. And then quinic acid, also very bitter. Think sucking on an aspirin. Not very good, but it shows up. All right, so building your flavor library. What is the purpose? The purpose is to create a mental catalog of aromas, flavors, and textures that you can recognize and recall, not just through coffee, but through all of your experiences, whether it's wine or chocolate or any elevated tasting experience, you can bring it with you. And how do you do this? Just regularly taste a wide range of foods, fresh fruits, herbs, dried spices, nuts, fermented products, but just have an elevated focus on your consumption. Be mindful as you're actually eating it. What does it taste like? What is it reminiscent of? That kind of thing. Okay, focus on aroma, flavor, texture, and aftertaste, and why it matters. A strong flavor library improves your ability to describe what you taste, communicate with others, and appreciate the skill and care behind specialty products. Yeah. Any questions so far? You guys are so quiet. Awesome. And now we get to come up and try. So we're going to do a tasting exercise with instructions for flavor calibration. So I'm going to invite you guys up to come taste some foods with me together. And this will be the third page that was in your packet with that list of fruits and foods. And what I'd like to say is that we're going to taste different fruits in order of mild to intense flavors. We're going to focus on the flavor of the thing we're eating. So it's really easy to pop a blueberry in your mouth and be like, it tastes like blueberries. But I'd love for you to try to think about the texture, the intensity of the flavor, the sweetness. Yeah, I said intensity. And then use the worksheet to record your personal descriptors. And I want to remind everybody that there's no wrong answers. If you experienced it, then that's a valid sensory experience. And after each tasting, we'll briefly discuss the impressions as a group. So as you come up and get your sample, kind of hold off. And then again, just be mindful when you actually eat it. Kind of eat it slow. Just kind of let it dissolve in your mouth. And then, like, for example, the hazelnuts, you can crunch, crunch, swallow, and you're not really going to get the full flavor experience. So just crunch, chew it well, think about what you're tasting. And we'll do that for all of our foods. And then later, we're going to try to connect them back to the flavor wheel as we brew coffee. All right, hop on up.
I want to actually pick it to them so that it's a little easier for them to
All right.
take their notes, and that's also how the camera.
Would you guys prefer to stay in your seats and taste in seats, or would you prefer to come up here? We can serve you.
Oh, wow. Service in this place.
Okay, we'll come bring it around. You guys can stay. We'll be right there. All right, so hopefully nobody's allergic to nuts.
Not me.
Okay.
I'm not.
2 people here. So these are roasted but not salted nuts, hazelnuts.
Hazelnuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you guys, so this is actually an exercise we do before every time we judge for a calibration round, where all these like coffee nerds get together and we're like, this hazelnut really is fatty, and oh, it's kind of astringent, you know, like that's part of it, is making sure we're all tasting the same thing. So yeah, pretty cool. Kind of just be intentional, kind of chew it, think about the flavors, the textures. is this what you're thinking a hazelnut tastes like? Or, because I feel like a lot more people consume artificial hazelnut than they do actual hazelnuts. Or alternatively, you don't often have a hazelnut and deeply think about the flavor, right? Or, yeah, exactly. It's usually stuck into something.
That's how it works.
So did you get what we're doing in this exercise? So we're just like tasting basically down this list.
Okay.
So we're right at hazelnuts. And so the idea is that you kind of taste these and think about deeply like the flavor attributes. So texture, body, any kind of astringency, anything sweet. Yeah, so like what does a hazelnut taste like? Yeah. And I'll be back with pecans. All right, so any thoughts on the hazelnut? Did it taste like what you thought it would taste like? Perfect. Oop. Christmas candy? Yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, those like Lindt chocolates, yeah. Do you find it like drying or astringent or creamy? Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, I think nutty would kind of go fun, but
Yeah, I mean, I feel like,
not peanutty. But
no. Yeah. Hazelnutty.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome, and these are pecans. All right, any thoughts here on the hazelnuts?
I'm trying to think of what makes it specific to a hazelnut, but we can't find the word.
Yeah, we need a list of words to pick from.
The word library. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
A little creamy.
Yeah, creamy. I think there is like a butteriness to it that's not in the same way of other nuts, but like doesn't have this same like maximum
little
creaminess.
dry.
Yeah, drying. Yeah. You're coming up with the words. You got them.
Just got away.
I know. I'm tired, so I didn't have to be straight.
All right. Anybody? You guys taste some good flavor notes over here for the
Yes.
hazelnuts?
I felt the one with the skin had almost like an astringency, like
Yeah.
like Darjeeling tea.
Exactly. It can be a little bit astringent or drying. In general, sometimes I get that with coffees, and I write as my cupping note like nut skins. Like if it has a drying coffee, I'll be like, oh, nut skins, and then nut skins. That shows up for me all the time. If I don't love a coffee.
That's a good description.
Yeah. So like people are like, oh, what's that taste like? But once you have it, it's like that astringent, drying. It's not bad, but that's the last thing you're left with. And you're like, well, way better to be left with like fruit juice or something fun like that, you know? Ooh, do you guys have some good cupping notes here or some good flavor notes?
Hazelnut kind of like almost like woody.
Woody?
I don't know
Yeah.
how else to describe it. It's like I didn't want to say it was florally. I don't know how else to describe it besides nutty. So I was like, it kind of
Yeah, nutty.
Yeah, like a nut.
Yeah, like nutty, yeah, for sure. I feel like it's like creamy and earthy. I think earthy's a good one because you're like, oh, this tastes like it's from the
I
earth.
was
But
like,
yeah.
describe it. I was like, yeah, that would work.
How are the almonds? A longer aftertaste? That's great. Yeah. I would say like a lingering aftertaste. If it was more intense than the other nuts, you're like, oh, that's a very intense flavor.
It didn't hit me right away, but you can now I'm tasting
Yeah.
all of it. And then the skin is still slightly like bitter, like
Yeah, like a little drying or bitter. Yeah, just like the pecan.
just like the pecan.
Yeah. All right. Everyone have any comments on the almonds?
I got maybe like a celery type flavor.
Ooh, okay, like vegetal a little?
Yeah, vegetal.
I love that.
There's
Yeah.
like maybe a sharpness, like sharp celery type
Yeah.
flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, thinking deeply about like almonds, right? And just toss them back. Yeah. Awesome. All right, and our very own Hawaiian grown mac nuts. All right, how are the mac nuts? How do they compare to what we've also tasted before? Sweeter, less sweet? Sweeter? Try not to be like fatty or meaty? Oily. Fatty, yeah. Rich. Love that. Okay, we're switching to fruits. I hope everybody's ready. So we're going to start with a stone fruit. Yep, this is peach.
Yum, thank you.
So peach is like one of the common flavor attributes that we pick up in coffee a lot, or just stone fruit in general. It's just a good flavor. All right, what are we picking up for kind of textures, describers for this one? Bright. Has a sweetness, like a higher intensity sweetness or a mild sweetness. Yeah. How's the texture? Tiny bit mealy or?
Sinewy.
Yeah, sinewy. That's a good word. Love that. Yeah. Perfect. Oh. And I feel like that's sometimes blueberry or blueberry. So you could both be right.
This is the first one that most we kind of agree,
Yeah.
but this one he's like, okay, that's one note flat. he
Flat,
said, right?
yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's lingering, like how I felt with the almond.
Hit you hard or leave you. You know what I mean? It's just it's even all the way across.
See, so that's what he thought. But I feel blueberries is kind of a
Intense flavor?
intense, one time hit you.
Yeah. I could see
Still
that.
can kind of, like I'm still tasting it.
Yeah.
You know, but nothing like any other fruit.
I feel like you're both right. I feel like some blueberries you're like, what did I just eat?
I
It
know
kind of
it.
tastes like nothing. And then other times you're like, oh, that was really good and really intense.
No other
Yeah.
fruit like it.
Yeah.
Berry.
Yeah, very. Yeah. What do you guys think?
So you put stone fruit, and that was a peach?
Yeah.
I've been seeing stone fruit a lot on like coffee labeling as like,
Yeah.
but is there a specific flavor for stone fruit, not just peach and stuff like?
I think that when people put stone fruit on the bag, they're either thinking of something so specific that they're like, no one will get it, so we'll just put stone fruit, or the flavor is not pronounced, where you're like, it tastes really reminiscent of a peach, but it's not quite peach. And it's not quite apricot because maybe the acidity is not there, maybe it's a plum, but it's also, so like, when you're not quite sure of which stone fruit it's hitting, you'll just put, I think it tastes kind of like a stone fruit. And then sometimes it's because the flavor isn't quite cohesive enough to call it one specific variety. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or like the same way sometimes, and one of the things that I usually do is I save one of each of the berries, and then at the end you can throw all three in your mouth and it's mixed berry. So a lot of people just like say berries, and so like you're like, oh, what does that taste like? But if you actually have like raspberry, strawberry, blueberry all at once, you're like, oh, it's kind of just berries. Like it's not like a whole indistinct, yeah, it's like not so cohesive. So yeah, it's the same idea.
I was curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, the raspberries. How do the raspberries compare to the blueberries? Punchy. Higher intensity? Yeah. Sweetness? Tart? Yeah, a little bitter or astringent. I always find the seeds at the end like a little drying when you're eating them. Mushy. That's a good one. Where are we, blackberries? All right. Any thoughts on the blackberries? How's the body or the depth of the blackberry compare to the? Piney? Yeah, I could see that for sure. Blackberries, you got piney, earthy at all, or sweet or not very sweet compared? Yeah, kind of a mild sweetness. Yeah. That's exactly right. All right, I'm bringing the cherries around because we gotta kind of hustle, but
We gotta add these, yeah.
we're gonna go through. No, we gotta. This is the work. This is the work. This is the best work. How are the strawberries? Sweet.
I think it's
The sweetest so far.
yeah.
So like a higher intensity sweetness than the other fruits so far. Perfect. All right. Any more thoughts on the strawberries, or did you guys jump to the cherries already? Yep. So we got some nice cherries here. Cherries, I usually think of also an intense sweetness, but also adds like some body, I think, and some depth. It like lingers usually for me for flavor, and also brings a really interesting kind of different acidity. Yeah.
Tougher.
Yeah.
It's a tougher fruit.
It's a tougher fruit for sure. The texture's a little meaty. Yeah. Yeah.
Very meaty.
Meaty, yeah. There's a density to it. Yeah. And cherries are a pretty common flavor attribute in specialty coffees. A lot of the berries are, and that's why we like describing them well, is because when you pick up a berry attribute in coffee, it usually hits. You're like, oh, it does taste like blueberries, or oh, it really does taste like, for us in Hawaii, a lot more tropical fruit, but I think that's really fun too. But yeah, more winey, cherry, lots of strawberries or blueberries show up quite often in coffee. Yeah.
So I can imagine eating different types of fruits into one another, like after it has an effect on your palate, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely enhanced the flavor of the grape after eating that cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
about how grape would taste.
Yeah, there's some intentionality to how they're served, and that's to help you like build the kind of sensory library to figure out like, oh, cherry really does have like either this depth or this intensity, and the grape's really light and refreshing and quite acidic, and it's kind of like a contrast to the thing before it. Yeah. Awesome. And the last of our fresh fruits is our malic acid reference sample.
Green apple.
Yeah. A nice G. Smithers apple over here. Classic high acid apple. All right, and how are the apples? Thank you.
Drying than I remember apples being.
Drying. Well, this Granny Smith,
It's Granny Smith.
yeah, is usually the baking kind, yeah. So it has a really high acid, so it can kind of preserve that flavor through the baking process. But definitely, I'd say like the favorite ones are like the Gala apples or the Pink Ladies, something that's like a little bit sweeter. And this is a good example of when acid can kind of be out of balance with sweetness, because you're kind of left more with the acid and the sweetness isn't quite there to match the acidity of the thing. So this is kind of where that sweetness can enhance acidity if it has enough sweetness to back it up, which is like why some of the newer cultivars of apples are a little more pleasing to the palate than like a Granny Smith. But people love their Granny Smith because they like sour apples. But it's like you have to admit that it is like a more sour experience than it is a sweet experience. Yeah. This is a dried apricot, which when I imagine a dried apricot, I imagine those bright orange guys that you get from the grocery store. These are a little oxidized, but I think that the flavor transformation is pretty fascinating. Yeah, so I find these apricots in particular a little more mild in acidity than what I think of as a dried apricot. And I was telling Ben earlier, it's like almost more caramelly. Yeah, yeah, like malty, caramelly. Chewing tobacco. Oh, smoky. Yeah. but if you think about the intensity of the sweetness, it's quite sweet, like it's really high intensity sweetness. So one of the common things with flavor evaluation in coffee or even with chocolate, dried fruit shows up a lot. And when you mention dried fruit, you're kind of expressing a lack of juiciness and kind of more so an intensity of the sweetness, as like it has this really pronounced dried fruit flavor because it's so sweet. Or it kind of reminds you of that, like more of just a dry fruit flavor, that so it doesn't quite hit you with the acidity that you would normally expect. Yeah. Yeah. So a good comparison will be the next one too. Because you had the fresh version and now you'll have the dried version. Yeah. Raisin. Yeah, earthy, woody. Like I was expecting the bright orange ones, you know? And so I was like, oh, because those are like so sweet and actually have quite a bit of acidity and sweetness. Yeah. All right, and the raisins are mainly to compare to the grapes that you just had.
I really like it.
All right, what descriptors are you thinking of as you compare the grapes and the raisins in your mind? Yeah. Yeah. Super sweet. Yeah, it's got that like high density sweetness, but it's also earthy. So kids tend to not like it. Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys see it as like almost brown sugary at all? Like a sweet molasses brown sugar flavor? Yeah, like almost a mapley flavor. That's like what I get. And it's kind of crazy how the acid transforms from the drying process. Yeah. 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 Oh. All right, and then now I'm passing out some nice dark chocolate nibs. This is a 72% dark chocolate. As you kind of taste this chocolate, try to let the chips melt on your palate and across your palate. Try not to chew them until kind of the very end once they're softened. Yep. This is a Ghirardelli chocolate, and Ghirardelli does a really good job maintaining like a dense cacao flavor in their chocolate.
That's what we use.
Oh. All right, what are we thinking about these 72% chips? Any fun flavor descriptors? Yeah, deep cacao kind of intensity, like a high intensity flavor. Kind of fatty? Fatty, yeah. Yeah, a little bit of bitter bite at the end. Light sweetness? Yep. All right. And this is actually mostly the same chocolate, same company, Ghirardelli, but this is a 31%. So this is a milk chocolate. These are not local, and here's the reason. All of our local chocolate is fantastic, and it doesn't have a lot of neutral flavor. And so for a reference sample, you don't want it to taste super fruity or complex because you're trying to taste what chocolate tastes like, right? So if that makes sense. Like when you're coming up with reference standards, like so a lot of our chocolates here tend to be really fruity, like high fruit. It's really hard to find a chocolate that isn't fruity here because everybody here focuses so much on specialty, and the industry is really aligned in creating an exceptional chocolate wherever you get it. And so they don't make a lot of like mediocre chocolate without flavor, right? So the Mililani bar, for example, the first time I had it, tasted like freeze-dried raspberries. Like it had this intensity of fruit that was so amazing that I instantly loved it. And I was like, I love this bar. I had it later and it tastes like nail polish. So it wasn't that great, but figuring it out. But that's part of the fun. But I highly recommend you check out the local chocolate scene. And we might follow this up with a chocolate tasting class because I'm kind of trained in that. So stay tuned. Chocolate's a little too much to do with coffee at the same time, so I figured separate them out. Yeah. All right, how are we feeling about the, what's that? Oh, chocolate one? Perfect. Perfect. I'll bring in my friend Max, who's incredible. But yeah.
Coffee snob, chocolate.
Chocolate snob. I love it. I love it. Amazing.
Okay, so the chocolate.
Yeah, this is going to be,
Tricky one too.
yeah.
We both said at the same time.
Caramel.
Caramel.
Creamy.
I also taste
Malty. Yeah, that's good. That's a good flavor for descriptor for this. Chocolate for the masses, the crowd pleaser, if you will.
Yes.
Nobody dislikes this. Nobody particularly loves it. It's just, it's fine. It's great. Yeah. You should, when I do the chocolate one, we'll only bring dark chocolates. We'll have one milk as a reference and everything. So when I taste it as a sensory scientist, I actually do 100%, so no sugar when I do my evaluation. So it's just, there are a lot that are really bitter. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, this is gonna be a little pseudo flavor bomb.
Yeah. This is like that party.
Get ready.
Oh. When you, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a white sugar. So this sugar is ideally like very neutral in flavor. Like what you're really getting and why it's important to try this is because it's maximum sweetness without a lot of flavor, right? It's just sweet. You're not getting anything else. So this is a reference sample for sweetness.
You know, brewing the milk chocolate after that dark chocolate, it made the chocolate not even taste like.
Chocolate.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, this tastes like caramel. This tastes
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
chocolate.
They said caramel too. They were like, yeah, this just doesn't even taste like chocolate. And it's true, once you have a dark chocolate, it's like, you're like, oh, I'm not tasting a lot of chocolate in here.
This isn't chocolate.
It's the same way of like, you have an Americano and then you have a latte, you're like, it doesn't really taste like coffee, it tastes like milk. Yeah.
Americano is so good.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
You can dump the white sugar there. Perfect.
Just sweet. That's all.
Yeah, just sweet. It's really a reference sample for just sweet. There's not a lot of other flavor going on in there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And this is to compare kind of when you add molasses in. Sorry. From just straight pure white sugar. You're starting to get a little bit more flavor development. A lot more, I would say, earthy and floral flavor. All right, now our third sweetness sample is going to be some local honey. So actually the spoons you guys got, you can just dip them right in for your sample.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna get a fresh one. Yeah. This is local honey.
Yeah, this is actually from my coffee farm.
Wow.
We keep these up there.
In Mililani, right?
Monowili. It's confusing. I've got two M farms. Monowili.
Yeah.
So if you compare kind of the honey to the brown sugar, you can kind of see the increased intensity and sweetness, the way it coats the palate in a kind of like vapor.
Sorry, I like this before.
This is from Monowili.
Oh, you guys.
It's our honey, yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice light honey, but I find this honey to be really floral and sweet. So I think it's a really good example of honey because it's so nuanced.
Do you guys enter the Hawaiʻi competition?
We didn't.
Okay.
I gotta convince Rick it's a good idea. There is.
I mean, there's a competition right
All right, anyone missing honey over here?
Is it the same one?
Yeah. All right.
Where's the honey from?
It's from, well, I don't want to bias you guys. Is it good? Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, honey's kind of hard to mess up, but it's from the coffee farm. So this is our own honey. Yeah. But yeah, for a reference sample, I find this honey to be really floral and has like a really good coating sweetness, but it's not super dense. It doesn't have like a density to it that you can get from some honeys. It's like a lighter honey. Yeah.
That's good honey.
Yeah? Did you guys kind of pick up some florality in it at all, or
Picked up the coffee note, like right away.
coffee? I love that.
But I was like, I feel like
maybe it's because I just took a whole spoonful and
Yeah.
I was like kind of aerating, inside.
Yeah.
I felt like it was almost like it got to me just at the end.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Awesome. All right, and now we're ending with the probably most intense, hopefully. These are some oranges that we'll start out with for a nice citric acidity. This is a very good representative sample of citric acidity. And this orange is a Valencia orange. It's also good to know. It's a reference sample. Awesome. What do you guys think about this orange? Kind of juicy, higher intensity of acid, or low acid, or high acid? Floral. What do you think about kind of the balance between the sweet and the acid? Is it balanced? They match each other well? Yeah. So it's kind of the idea when you pick up like an orange jam or something like that in a coffee where you're like really sweet, it's got a little bit of acidity in there, but it's kind of muted by how much sweetness there is, versus like, oh, this just tastes like orange juice. Then it's just like you get this really juiciness, it's like oranges or orange zest, and then those are like really common flavor attributes in coffee as well. Yeah, very orangey. Any other fun flavor attributes you're picking up in here?
I just picked the peel.
Oh, the peel's good to try. That's like another flavor. It's very pithy and astringent.
I was like, it's still really nice.
Yeah. All right, and everybody approach this one carefully.
Yes. Need a little salt on it.
So in this situation, this is high acid without a lot of sweetness to back up that acid. Another really good example of a full sour flavor. Yeah, this is why it's last, is because it's also a palate destroyer. So it's a nice little taste, but this is, again, that concept where the acid's out of balance with the sweetness. And so as that when some people describe coffee as sour, that's what they're describing. They're describing a coffee that was really acidic without enough sweetness to back up that acidity and make it cohesive. So a bean or a brew or a process, it could be any number of things. The value chain in coffee is very complicated. You're like, oh, maybe somebody roasted it funky. Maybe somebody brewed it poorly and it was an acidic cup, which is over extraction. Yeah.
We think we got used to coffee companies over.
Oh, like more smoky. Yeah. I mean, there's a method to why they do that, is because you can go to any Starbucks and it tastes pretty similar.
It's like McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a uniformity there that a large chain wants. And so even though there's a diversity of beans, they all taste pretty similar because it all tastes like Starbucks. Yeah. And that's what they corner the market on. And it's a really good market because you know what you're getting. You know exactly what you're getting, right? But it's not necessarily a specialty coffee.
Right.
It was when they first started. It was one of the very nicest like coffees that America had seen because, yeah. 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 Yeah, I mean, there just doesn't exist that much nice coffee in the world to support something like that either. So, yeah, exactly. All right, so, how?
I'm realizing it as I get older.
Yeah. Pineapple's really acidic.
It's so sweet and yummy.
I know.
Burst of
It can tear up your mouth though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't really eat any other food after that. So
That's-
at a party, I'll eat pineapple last.
That's why a lot of people in the plant breeding world are actually trying to breed a less acidic pineapple. And so the pink pineapples that kind of appeared a few years ago, they're not as popular because they're GMO, but there's an heirloom variety of pineapple that's white that you can get locally. And they're like $20 a pineapple or $30. They're crazy. I bought one, but it was delicious. It was really creamy, not too sweet. Yeah, it was. I was like, well, I have to know what white pineapple tastes like because maybe that's a future cupping note. You never know. So I was gonna ask the people, how is that as a flavor building exercise? Have you thought about fruits and nuts and flavors like that before? Yeah? How was the experience for you? Were you kind of impressed, or were there any takeaways from trying all of those things right next to each other, kind of being cognizant and thinking about them? Any big takeaways on the foods themselves, or any particular? There it is. That's part of the exercise, is being able to articulate what you're tasting, and that's the biggest part of sensory science, I think. Yeah. I think somebody mentioned that with hazelnuts too. Or like, when I have hazelnuts, it's with chocolate, and now it's just alone. So where's the chocolate? Yeah. 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 That's that strong flavor emotion, and that's like something in a flavor library, which is why everybody's sensories are so different, because everybody had different upbringings or potentially foods that were kept in their houses, and so everybody has different like library that they're working with from the beginning, right? But then the idea, especially with sensory science, is that we can calibrate on all of those different things. So yeah.
Like, do this as an exercise once in a while, just to keep your taste buds sharp, or just to?
I do it, so I was mentioning this earlier, this happens before every single barista competition if you're a judge. So we spend a full day tasting foods together and talking about them together to make sure that we're all tasting the same thing. So, oh, are you picking up mushrooms from this chocolate? And people are like, yeah, it's really mushroomy. I don't know what's up with this chocolate, or whatever it is. And so that's like one great way for a group of people who are gonna be working together in sensory for 3, full long days to calibrate. So this is something I do just before competitions. And then I was actually going to invite you guys, if it's not too late, to come up and taste some coffees if you're ready. We're going to be doing baby sips. I know we've not talked a lot about coffee or actually had coffee yet in this coffee workshop, but we're finally ready. So the idea is, as you kind of come up and approach the coffee, you're going to have the same thoughtfulness and intentionality that you had as you were tasting each and individual one of these attributes. You're going to try to see if you can pick up any flavors that we just tried in a lower intensity or a higher intensity, depending on the coffee. And then just see if you can pick up any flavors. I typically recommend that you kind of swirl it around and cool it down, because as a coffee cools, it actually increases its perception of sweetness. So if you try a coffee hot and then wait 5 minutes, it actually develops much, much more flavor than having it scorching hot. And so I definitely try to say, almost like a specialty coffee will really present itself as a specialty coffee at room temperature or cold, because it still tastes pretty good to drink. And the hallmark of a poorly brewed, poorly roasted, maybe even poorly grown coffee could be that it's undrinkable when it's cold. And I think that's one of the big differentiating characteristics for like your own takeaway for different palates, is like, if you can't tolerate a coffee once it's cooled, it probably wasn't a very good coffee to begin with. Yeah. So yeah, hop on up. Oh, I actually have a little slide here. So the coffees we'll be tasting are presented up here. All of the coffees are washed unless noted otherwise. From Olympia Coffee Roasted, I selected 3 coffees from them that they feature pretty regularly. These are their tasting notes that come on their bags. You'll notice I selected these 3 specifically because we tasted a lot of these things, so I'm hoping that you'll be able to come up and maybe identify them in the cup. So up here, we're gonna be starting with the Colombia San Sebastian, followed by the Kenya. So if you guys want to taste them kind of side by side, you can actually see the difference, the pretty significant differences in flavor between what is the San Sebastian with the milk chocolate, apple, sugarcane, but then as we go down, it's strawberry, raspberry, and shortbread cookie. So it's going to be from relatively less fruity to a more fruity cup. And so, yeah, hop on up.